We promise this won't be very long. And you get to enjoy it from your house.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. Okay, so we have some slides and we'd like to welcome you and thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. Welcome to fourth grade. By now, your child has been in fourth grade for almost 2 weeks and has starting to get an idea of our routines and expectations and things that we expect for fourth grade. So our first slide is all about reading. So I think what we'll do is I'll just kind of go through the slide, and then if you have questions, we'll stop for a moment and then take any questions. So we have our reading and language procedures. Expectations for reading is I have a monthly page goal, which your kids should be able to tell you about that. It's a 300-page goal, and if they earn those 300 pages, they receive an A for that part, and that is independent reading. We also have other reading going on in the classroom. We have reading lessons and practice, and we'll do several novel studies this year. So they're off to a good start. I've had several students taking AR tests and doing well with those. So that's how they earn their pages. And if you read the parent packet, this is going to be a quick review for that. So they have, they earn their 300 pages when they pass an AR test at 80% or better. And that goes into a log that we keep at school. Also, I am giving them an incentive that if they read 400 pages, then we have, after 3 months of reading 400 pages, we'll do some special activity. And that'll take some time, maybe an hour or so out of our normal routine, and we'll have some fun with that. So I'm going to admit someone else. Here we go. Okay, so then homework. They'll have reading homework Monday through Thursday. It's basically a reading log, 15 pages they need to read, and we've found that 15 pages, if they are steadily reading through a book 15 pages at a time, they'll get to their page goal. And Wednesday night's a little special. We are doing lessons throughout the week. So tonight your child brought home a reading ticket. We're talking about visualizing when we're reading. So they'll just have an extra little bit to do on Wednesday nights. Also, if your kids are busy, families are busy, and if you can't get to a reading log one night, that's not a big deal. They can always make it up over the weekend or anything like that. So, or make it up the next night. We have weekly grammar lessons, and we've started those already. So we do some morning work when they walk in, and then we're working on nouns and verbs and all that good stuff they've heard before. So a lot of review. We're trying to figure out exactly where they're at, because we lost more school than we normally would with just a regular summer. So that takes care of that. Writing procedures. We're going to do a writing workshop method, just like reading workshop. And we do mini lessons, and then we send the kids off to write. And we have several genres that we'll be doing this year. Personal narrative, which is a story that they're going to tell about their own life, is the first genre that we're working on. So we're building lots of lists. And then in February, March, we have the climbing contest. And that's always a lot of fun, and kids have a lot of choice. And that's let me go back to the reading just really quick. Your child has a lot of choice on independent reading. I have a certain level that I want them to be in, and my goal is to push them with the levels, but they have a lot of choice in the classroom. And if by chance they bring home a book that you do not want them to read, please let me know. I have all kinds of books on my shelf. So if it's something that you like, I don't really like that. For instance, Harry Potter or something like that with magic, please let me know, because otherwise I won't know. And your child really has a lot of freedom on what they pick. Spelling is spelling. I don't have a whole lot to say about that, and we won't start the spelling routines until after Labor Day week, that week of Labor Day. So starting September the 14th, we'll start a spelling list. And here's why. There's so many new routines, and I want to get those established first. And then we'll add in something that is very regular for them, and they've been doing it since first grade. So that's kind of all about reading. Does anybody have any questions? Great. Okay, we'll move on. Mrs. Black, are you ready?
I am. Yep. Okay, so in math, we do have homework on Tuesday nights. And so yesterday, your child had a math page to do. And I wanted to just talk a minute about that. I know that some of the stuff can be difficult. The back side is review from third grade. Now, some of the stuff, and I know this happened on Tuesday night, there was a question about fractions, and I don't know that Mrs. Schroeder was able to get all the way through the fraction unit, so that was a really difficult one. And so I know I had a parent put down a little note that said, we need this explained, and that's perfectly fine, and I'm happy to do that. So if there's something on the math homework that's really frustrating or you're really struggling with, do not let it ruin your evening. Just send me a note and we'll talk about it together the next day. The front side of the homework should always be something that we've already done in class and something we just worked on. And I try to send home something that I think they're going to be comfortable doing. That's the front side. The back side can be tricky because it pulls skills from third grade at the end of third grade or something like that where they may forget about that. Like I think perimeter was one last night. Heard for do not let it ruin your evening. If there are any problems, please just write a note and I will talk to your child the next day and it's not going to be a big deal. I do not want it to be a nightmare for you to do the homework together. I also put on here MobyMax because your child has an account with MobyMax just like they did last year. They have lessons already in there. There is nothing wrong with having them do a little extra here and there. If you want to have them work on math skills, that's a perfect thing to do. It's free for you and it's right there that they're familiar with. There's also a component of fluency, which leads me into the next thing on my slide here. If your child is struggling with basic addition and subtraction facts, and I mean like 4 plus 3 or 7 minus 2, things like that, if those things are hard for them, then as we move through fourth grade math, it's going to be difficult because we're going to be doing long division, 2-digit times 2-digit, and we're going to be getting into division with remainders with lots of steps. And so if those basic facts aren't something they're real fluent with, it's going to be hard. So I would recommend maybe you can set up a schedule or something where they can just practice their math facts for 5 or 10 minutes, a couple times a week. That's really not that long. And it would just review those and help them be more fluent with it. Multiplication too, I think they were probably just getting into multiplication at the end of third grade. And it's just so important. We'll get into fractions eventually where they have to find common denominators or common factors. And if you know all the factors of 12, 2, 6, 4, 3, 1, 12, if you can do that automatically, it's going to make fourth grade math skills so much more easier. But anyway, that's just the suggestion I have is fluency with math facts. So let me check my notes here. I think I covered everything about math. Like I said, it gets pretty difficult pretty quick. We get into some difficult stuff, but we practice together and we go over things and I'm happy to help anyone that needs it. So I try to make it fun. We play lots of games. We do lots of group activities. So are there any questions about math before I talk about the next slide? Okay. All right. You guys are quiet.
Yeah.
All right. Social studies and science. We do a lot of fun stuff in science. We do a lot of hands-on investigations. Our first one is about Earth's changing surface, and we'll be doing some stuff with river tables and creating glaciers with ice and just a lot of really fun hands-on stuff. That's what's going to be coming up in science. Our kit hasn't arrived yet, but it should. Right now, we're kind of diving into geography and social studies, which really lends itself right into what we're doing in science because we're talking about where we live in the world, and then we're going to be talking about landforms and how Indiana was formed and a lot of the soil and rivers and things like that. So those two fit perfectly together this first 9 weeks. It's a lot of fun. We will have tests in both of those subjects, and I do provide a study guide. Your child actually already took their first quiz, and that was on continents and oceans, and they did have a study guide to practice for a few nights before we took that. So we always put it in the agenda, so be sure to check that agenda. And I try to make sure they have at least 2 good days to study, if not longer. And really, for the most part, if they've listened and participated in class, the tests really shouldn't be anything too difficult for them to do. But like I said, it's lots of fun, and the science is always a big hit. Are there any questions about social studies or science? Okay.
Okay, we'll move right along. This
I
is a
think remote
biggie.
learning. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we've been doing a lot. We've been doing a lot to get the kids familiar with Google Classroom in school. They have a Google account, and what we're asking you guys to do is before Labor Day weekend, or sometime before by Labor Day weekend, have your child log into their Google account at home on a computer. See if you can help. They can show you how they access Google Classroom, because we have put assignments in there in class here, and we've had them practice doing it. Because if we would go to remote learning, or when we have a weather day, which we already had one for power, but we didn't have to have remote learning. But we're just trying to be ready so the kids are familiar, and it will not be a nightmare for you guys. The Google accounts are taped right into their agenda books, so they are familiar with those. And so it's just going to look different when they log into a different computer, a different device. One thing that I learned last spring is I just don't know how compatible a tablet is. If you have an iPad or some other kind of tablet, it doesn't quite work the same. We had some kids try it, and really a laptop or a computer is best if you can do that. If not, let us know, and we'll see what we can work out. But I do know that using a tablet just wasn't really a very good situation. We had a girl actually buy a tablet just for remote learning, and it just didn't go well.
Mrs. Blackburn, we have a question from Daleen.
Oh, okay.
Daleen?
I think
you already answered it. It was just about the iPads, because my daughter was talking to me while I was listening to you about, she's like, I have to use a computer, Mom. And I go, what? We used iPads last time. So you answered it. It's fine. It's all good.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, we will still use the St. John Google page, which is the sites page. I think that's what Mr. Walls sends out, and we will put some stuff on there, but everything is referred to in Google Classroom. Now, I'm not an expert at all, so maybe, one of you that has a tablet can figure it out or knows something that I don't know, which is very possible. So, I'm not saying don't. This would be a good time to try it, just to see if it would work. From past experience, I don't think things showed up the same way, but it's worth a try, and we can work around that and figure it out then from there. Does that help?
And Google Classroom is very user-friendly. And when we were pushed into this last spring, everybody learned quickly, and it was easy to get in and out of, kids could send us things back, we could actually chat, we could grade and make comments. So it's very user-friendly going back and forth, and so
yeah,
just practice.
And I just want to add that, if you try to get on before Labor Day and it's not working, please let us know, and we can do like a one-on-one Zoom, and we can work with you and try to help you, and we can kind of help each other, because we just learned to do it last spring too, but it really is pretty user-friendly, and we just want to try to make this really seamless. So if we happen to have to go to remote learning, we'll have some things in place, and we won't be scrambling to figure it out. So
Any other questions about remote learning?
Lydia, do you have a question?
I forgot how to do the thing where we put in our account. I don't know how to say it.
Okay. Did you forget how to log in or where to put your account? Okay. I think if you go to google.com, there's somewhere up in the right corner, there might be a little button if you click on accounts or add an account and then try that, okay? That'd be a good starting point is you go to google.com and up in the corner somewhere, if you have a Gmail account, I think this kind of works like that. The students do not have email with it. We don't have that app turned on for them, but it's kind of like using an email account to get to Google Classroom. And then Lydia, if you're able to get logged in, you'll see what we call the waffle. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Okay, so if you get logged in, then click on the waffle and see if you can find Google Classroom. And if you can't, then let us know and we'll kind of try to figure it out too.
Right.
Okay.
And the students have their login inside their agendas right on the front cover, and it's taped. So that should stay there, and so that's always there, and that's why we want them in the habit of taking it home and bringing it back to school, back and forth. So.
And actually, I think once you've logged in on a computer, you can save it, and then you don't have to log in every time.
Right.
So that, I mean, some of you probably know more about that than I do, but it should be.
That's more than one person uses the machine.
And once you get into Google Classroom, you'll be able to see a tile for each class. We even have one for Mrs. Wilkinson's music, right, Mrs. Gerst?
Yes, and Mrs. Barr, I think, is going to have a tile also.
Okay.
So.
Oh, and then there's a separate tile for math, reading language. All the assignments will be in those tiles. And we will probably outline the assignments on the Google Sites page that you're used to going to from 3rd grade. That's where everything will kind of be listed, and then you'll have to go to Google Classroom to find it. And I think at the end of the slideshow, I think we're going to talk about this, but feel free to text us anytime or call us. We're happy to help in any way that we can. We don't want this to be a nightmare for anyone.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to move right on to the next slide. And this is religion. Just so you know how we're covering this, we have in-class instruction 1 to 2 times per week. Power Up is kind of like welcome back to the week. We get together, we say a prayer. Well, we don't get together anymore. We do it over with slides in our classrooms. But we pray together and we get started, a good start for the week. Chapel is every Tuesday, and we are doing that through Zoom. We just did our first Zoom chapel. There will be times when 3rd and 4th grade will go and actually participate in chapel. So we're just taking turns doing that. We also have daily devotions, and they have a Bible verse that they are to memorize weekly, and you should see that in their agenda. It should be stapled in. We also write them on note cards, so if you want to take that off and put it on the refrigerator or something like that at home, you may do that. It doesn't have to stay in there because we have a card at school that says the same thing, and we practice at school also. And then Mr. Wet helps. He comes and visits our room regularly, and whatever we're working on in class, then he kind of just comes in and adds to our lessons. So that's religion. Any questions about that? Everybody brought their Bible, so we're good with that. Everybody has their Bible at school. Okay, one more slide. Oh, 2 more. Special schedule, just so you know. We have PE Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Now, I know maybe Mrs. Blackburn can help me with this. In 4th grade, they do change into gym shoes. They can change their clothes too, because they're getting a little older, and that's not ever a problem. So they just bring it. They'll change into into their gym shoes or whatever. Or they have to run to the bathroom and change into shorts. It's not a problem. But if they say I have to have clothes for PE, then be sure that that you send that with them. Music is on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then art is on Fridays. That's our regular special schedule. At this point in time, we're not doing library. So I will get books from our library. I've already gotten books from our public library. So there's also that kids can use those books also. Any questions? Okay. All right, this is the last slide. As Mrs. Blackburn said before, don't hesitate to email or text us with any concerns. If we're teaching and you text us, we might not get back to you immediately, but we will get back to you as soon as we're able. And speaking of that, we do have Mrs. Croy. She is a student teacher and she is helping us, and she'll be helping us through November. So she's already starting to do some teaching in the classroom under our supervision. So just so you know that she's involved, and she's doing a great job, and we appreciate her help in the classroom too. So that makes it nice that we have 9 students and 3 teachers. Also, please check your child's agenda book, because sometimes we write notes in there, and it's a good habit for your child to take it home, look at it, so you can see what homework is due that night, or what's going on, or if something came up during the day. Sometimes we write a little note. Also, as an incentive to our economy system, if your child gets 3 parent signatures in the agenda book, they get an extra $5 for the week. And then this year might be a little different than last. We are going to send out newsletters twice a month through email. One newsletter you'll get in September, I think like right after Labor Day. And that will be mostly about math, science, and social studies. And then you'll get another one a week later, 2 weeks later, about reading, writing. And that's what we're doing this year for that. So Mr. Walls always has his publication that he does every Monday, and the banner, and that goes home too. So there's lots of information in that also. You guys have any questions? Okay, great. Thank you for spending a little time with us this evening. We really appreciate it. And please don't hesitate to get a hold of us if you have any questions at all.
Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.